So I'm going to do the speed run, and I'm going to commentate as we go. So first up, the easiest attack of the game is hold circle to skip all the cutscenes. Now the beginning area is just a simple walk through. There's not really any tech. I couldn't find any useful out of bounds here, but there is always the option to find some. Most of these walls are invisible barriered, and I couldn't quite find a way to get over, so we do have to do this little animation here and wait for it to come through. The rest of this level I was just finding the most optimum path to move forward, essentially. Um, I've turned the music down as well, just so that you can hear me. See, this bit here, if we could get over this wall, it would be much faster, but I have tried and I've had no luck, so... And this is roughly the fastest path through the garden here. In a moment, we will be using the flying tech with the key, which is just something that's been in games for a very, very long time. All it is you are interrupting the collision of the bottom of the player object with the object that you are holding in your hand. So it's just that they made the collision a little bit too big on the item in the player's hand, and also they left the collision on for the between the player and the item in the player's hand, which is a little bit odd, but hey ho, it allows us to fly, so I won't argue with that. Thank you, developers. So here we go. This only works with the select few items which have the large hitboxes, and this key is one of them. So if we come over here, hold it out in front of us, place it on the ground, and then walk forward like this. Make sure it's all the way on the ground, and then hold L2 and drag it towards you. Now if we move backwards, left and right, see, you can choose a direction. It's fairly easy to do, and we can just pick the key up and carry on. If I hold circle, we can skip this cutscene, and we're off. That's the prologue. So this one is fairly self-explanatory as well. I had a bit of a longer route down for this on day one, but I discovered today that we can do another version of the flying tech, except with the cube. So we go there, and that unlocks this. Skip the cutscene, it's real quick. And we grab hold of this cube, stick it down out here, and then we have a smaller cube. Now, smaller items in this game tend to be ones that can clip a little bit better. For some reason, the collision on them just is not great. So we hold it out in front of us, hold it down, and hold L2, and it will push us. See that? And because it's pushing us repeatedly, we go through the collision of these objects on one frame, and then we keep getting pushed further this way, more than the collision on this object is pushing us back. So this one here is a little bit complicated. We need to go over there to activate the cutscene for this door, and this door activates the cutscene to turn this level end trigger on. So this one's pretty tricky. We've got to essentially levitate over there. Now, usually when you're levitating with this tiny cube, you lose a little bit of height as you're hovering along. But what we're going to do is spam the jump button as we're holding it underneath us. So hold it out in front of us. We're going to pull it down like this, as low down as we can go with the right stick, because I'm on console. And we're going to hold L2 as well to drag it towards us. And we're going to spam the jump button at the same time. So I like to play claw for this, and hopefully it will put us on top. You got to get a little bit lucky with this one. It usually takes me a couple of attempts. If you get really lucky, you could be on a world record pace. So if I keep hitting jump button, there we go. Right. Now over here, we hit this one. That gives us a cutscene trigger. Now you can do this back here, or you can just hop down here, take the stairs back up, which we're going to do in this case because you already know how to do the hover glitch. So that gives us this cutscene, which turns this into the party house. Here's dance music. And now here you can hover from here, but I find that often, because you lose height, it's much more consistent to start up here. It's also much better to have this flat for some reason. Oh, excuse me. If you have it at a diagonal, I find that the hover doesn't work as well. So, see that how we're retaining our height by jumping? There we go. And you can keep doing this backwards, and then through this door is the level end trigger. We don't need the key. We can just do that, and we hit the trigger. Skip the cutscene, and that's the end of the level. Easy peasy. Alright, now the gateways. There are no objects in here that you can use to do the levitation glitch. I have tried different sizes of all of the crystals, and I couldn't quite get it to work. So we're just going to come back here and start this one normally. Let's take this one out, grab this. I like this rock song. What I like to do here is have the pink one smaller. Eventually, we're going to put the pink one inside the outer boundary, because this gets blocked off. But I find that moving it around is a little bit more efficient if we've got it in small form. So we'll grab up the small one. You can, of course, carry the big one around. There might be a reason why to do that. At the moment, I think carrying the small one is faster. Oh yeah, you can just jump and hit that. There's no need to actually go up there. Let's pop that one down. Grab the blue one. And then, of course, to complete this puzzle, we just leave it outside. We'll head back out here ourselves. Now, the blue diamond is just going to be in here. So over here, what we're going to do is we're going to set this one up for later on. And between these two lines is roughly where the wall is going to show up in a minute. So I like to leave it slightly further in and roughly around the middle off to the side. So that should be an absolutely fine placement. Let's grab hold of this one and then place it down somewhere over here so we grab it on our way over here. There we go. So we're trying to make the least amount of movements possible over there, otherwise we'd be running back for the big crystal, running back for the big pink one, and we don't really want to do that. We want to save the time. We want to save as much time as possible. So there is a trigger in there for a cutscene, and there is a trigger after you pull this lever. So what we're going to do is use this big crystal to clip inside the building. And then once we pull that lever, it's going to open up a bridge, open this up, and the cog inside that elevator there is going to come open to us, which we can then end the level with. Now, I have tried clipping directly into that elevator, and I couldn't quite get it. There may be a way in the future, but there's no consistent way that I found. But what I've found is, if we place the blue crystal there, then what we can do is jump on top of this spike here, and push ourselves in here, and then the blue crystal drops down on us and we pop through this wall here to the right. I think the wall is just quite thin. I can't really think of many other explanations. It might take a couple of attempts, but essentially the crystals are quite heavy and they should just pop us through. See, we hit the cutscene trigger there. I skipped that one, and then we hit this lever. We're going to get a cutscene here, and I'll skip that. Easy peasy. Grab hold of this cog and that wall appears, so this goes all the way around the outside. Drop that one down. And touch the two crystals. You can grab it obviously through the thing. We don't need that one anymore. Grab hold of this cog and then hold it out and it will attach. You can hold circle here and it will skip the cutscene as soon as it starts. There we go. And then we finished that level. That one's another one down. Easy peasy. Right, now the wedge. The condition for finishing this level is really simple. You just have to ring a bell. And the bell appears at the top of the tower when you start the sequence to... I think it's a wedding sequence. So it's this bell, essentially. and you have to come over here and hit it. I've tried climbing up the tower to hit it, and it does nothing. There's no trigger up there. So obviously you're meant to go out and you're going to get the wedge from the larger world and come down and do all of these. However, the cutscene trigger for the wedding cutscene is inside this doorway just behind this keyhole. And conveniently, the developers have left a little hole in the wall. Oh, I haven't explained the climbing tech, sorry. So objects that won't let you jump any higher because you're on a very steep slope, if you just stand on the very edge of them, it'll let you jump. And then you can just keep jumping up like this. That's to do with the shape of the player collision box. It just lets you jump because you are on solid ground and you're not on the slope at the same time. So we'll hop down here, hit this trigger, there we go, we see the bell ring, and then we get the final piece of text for this level. Up on this candelabra thing, and then you can pop yourself up on here. That's a bit of an awkward jump, so that'll take a couple of attempts sometimes. Pop ourselves back out, and this level takes 30 seconds. It's really easy. Usually you can't jump up this to ring the bell. You would need the wedge, but there is this tiny ledge here sticking out a little bit too much. It's got a bit of collision on it, so we can just stand on that one if it lets us. There we go. And from here you can jump and ring the bell.
Hey.
That's the end of the level. Easy peasy. What are we up to now? The escape. Okay, this is one of the more irritating levels. It is just go from A to B. There are no skips or shortcuts, unfortunately. However, we don't have to take the winding path through the back streets. So you can get out of this either on the left or the right. As soon as you step in there, this wall gets blocked off and you can no longer return. So we've got to get over the wall, and then the collision for the city buildings won't spawn. So we jump on the edge of this and do a bit of a running jump and get up on this wall. You can also do the same thing from that ledge there if you decide to. I like to come over here on the left because I know where I'm going. So we'll jump down here. You do need to jump off that. There is invisible collision for a building just there. And then this has no collision out here at all. You're absolutely fine once you're out here in the free. That is where the level is meant to be. I don't think we'll see any of it spawn. I think we surpass all of the triggers. It's a very nice level when you do it the casual route, but we do skip most of it here. So, just in between this post and the wall, there is a little bit that they forgot to texture. So we're going to take advantage of that. We're going to drop on down through this hole here. Now, you've got to be careful not to go inbounds. You can go inbounds, and then you have to climb across the rocks on the left. But if we stay out of bounds, you must hit the bottom of this elevator. You absolutely must. I have tested every which way to get the end of the level trigger to spawn, and you absolutely must stand on this orange platform at some point. There is a much faster route if you don't have to stand on that, but you do. So, climbing rocks. This is one of those odd too steep slopes to stand on. Oh, to help if I could talk. You just keep jumping and moving sideways, and eventually you will pop on up. Really, really simple. That's our final destination over there. So I memorized the path to take. Certain of these objects don't have collision. Most of their collision does not reflect the object that you can actually see, which can be a little bit irritating. But if you follow the path I take, you will be absolutely fine. So it would be nice if we could jump on top of that. I've tried that many times, but I can't quite make the jump from there to there. That could be a small optimization if a way is found. Let's jump across over here. You do have to jump across these dirt gaps. If you fall down in between them, it can be really difficult to get back on top of these flagstones. It is much easier of a job to stay literally on top of them as much as possible. Now this one has a bit of strange collision on the corner. I remember this. So you have to keep jumping and just edge your way around the corner, and eventually it will pop you up and you'll get on top. We've got a big rock here. And try to avoid these red ones. I think this one doesn't have collision. And I think this one doesn't have collision either. If you fall down, it can be a little bit annoying to come back up, and it's not optimal for a speedrun. This one definitely does have collision. I'm going to head towards that little black rock there. This one has collision. The collision on this one is really high. The collision on this one is really high. You can't climb either of them. So we're going to have to walk through these stones, and then we can pop up on this one. And now, because we touched the bottom of the elevator shaft earlier, the ending cutscene trigger is in this room. If you don't touch the base, it will not end the level here. This will just be an endless chasm of bright light. No cutscenes on this one, so nothing to skip. And we're into the spiral. Now, this one is just a bit of a walkathon to begin with. It's just about keeping fairly close to the walls, keeping tight corners, just watching where you step, because there's a couple of little rocks you can snag your feet on. I can talk about, I suppose, some other things that I found. So there is a key in the carnival area, I think, of the first Maquette level that you can do flight with as well. If you want to play around and explore outside of the Maquette, definitely go and pick up the key from the County Fair Carnival area and use that one to fly around with. That's really, really easy. Stick it on the ground, pull it towards you and look all the way down, and you can basically explore most of the Maquette. You can go and check out the skybox and go and check out sort of other areas. Other than that, there aren't that many items you can do the flying clipping glitch with. But let me know in the comments if you find more. Right, so we hit this trigger, and don't step out straight away, because I have fallen through before the bridge has spawned many times. We do have to wait a hot second. Same again with this one. Just wait a hot second and then go. Oh, no, we got stuck literally inside it. Okie dokie. Let's load our autosave. And we autosaved inside the rock. Okie dokie. Let's restart the level. My apologies. I'm trying to think of what else there is to talk about. There are barriers above most of the areas you can't access in the earlier levels, split up into 4 different sections. If you jump on the plants in the corners, and you place the red cube or another object on the central plant, you can climb up onto it. You'll see that in my earliest speedrun. That's a handy little tip if you want to access an area early and have an explore of it. Of course, if you're in the wedge, you can just place the wedge anywhere. If there is a barrier blocking your entry and you can't jump up it or around it, slide your way along to the edge, and you'll see, because I use this tech in a minute, slide your way along to the edge of the barrier, and then very, very carefully start to spam the jump button, and you'll find right at the very edge of a platform you'll be able to jump, like I did on the small plank in the wedge. That can be a really, really useful tech for climbing up all sorts of invisible barriers and visible barriers. You can do a little bit of exploring almost everywhere with that. The jump height isn't impressively high in this game, so you can't really go bungee jumping everywhere. But you can definitely check out some interesting places. On top of some houses, you can kind of clip into some of them. You can do some interesting stuff. Right, so you have to come up on this rock to hit this. You can't hit it from underneath. I've tried. It's annoying. You can't do it. Okay, that one auto clicks into place as soon as you place it close enough, so you've just got to wait a second and then head back down. There should be an optimal path along these wiggly little roads. You should try to kind of move as close to the direction that you want to go in at all times, because that is optimal. So I can start on the right and I can aim towards the left, and that will be the shortest path between these points. Right, so we're coming up to what I consider to be the most difficult skip And this one took me most of today to work out. So, inside this hallway will be a loading trigger for most of the inside of this level. You'll see it won't be loaded. But from out here, what we can do is we can climb on top. So, this doesn't have collision, because why would it? We'll jump on this thing here, and you'll see, if we keep jumping, we'll end up on one of these slopes where we can't jump anymore. I'm pressing the button, but I can't jump. So what we do is we make our way to the very edge, very carefully, and it will allow us to jump again. So we need to sort of do a bit of a balancing act here, and climb up the corner. Now don't be afraid about falling off, because you can stick to it on this side as well. And you can stick to it on this side, it won't make you fall down. Ooh. But just very, very carefully climb up the corner, and eventually you should make your way towards the top. Obviously in a speedrun you'd want to do this as fast as possible, but it's invisible, the barrier you're climbing. It's a little bit like a curved edges off a rectangle. Oh gosh. Okay, right at the top this can be a little bit awkward because of the shape of this bulb thing, but if you jump to the left a bit, it usually puts you back up. There we go. Right, now we're going to head through this window. You can do some great exploring from out here as well. What you can do is just make a save file up here and just go explore, which can be pretty cool. There's all sorts you can explore, and you can use the edge jumping method that I just described to climb up a lot of these slanted buildings, which can be quite fun. Just be aware that a lot of them don't have collision beyond a certain point. You may fall through it. Okay, so this is the level, but you'll notice there's nothing after that doorway there. So there is a trigger to load the rest of the level, and it's just about where that pole is. Just there. And when you hit it, you'll see the diamond in the center of the screen. There'll be a little ring appear around it. And we'll go and grab that in just a second. So we're just going to pop on down here, and the goal here is to climb this and get on top of this roof. And you'll see why in just a second. Now, I had a lot of playing around with this today, and there may potentially be a faster route to complete this level, but this is currently the fastest way that I could find. So we bunked our head, and then very carefully do a bit of a hop to this roof, hop up on this ledge, along here, and hop up on this ledge. Now you want to take a bit of a jump up on here, and you'll see this is another of those slanted surfaces that we can't jump on, but we can stand on. Now these stairs, luckily for us, have collision. In fact, the entirety of this massive maquette has collision. Don't ask me why the devs left collision in. It seemed like a really silly choice to me, but that's absolutely fine. There we go. Just find the edge where we can jump. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump onto this little thing here. Oh, maybe, if it will let us. Right, hang on, let me just climb on back up. Is it going to let me climb? Perhaps, perhaps not. Okie dokie. Right, well, maybe it'll let me jump off. Okay, so usually we would jump from this roof onto this here, and then down onto these stairs. But since I've fallen down here, perhaps it'll let me jump over to the stairs from here. Just trying to find a spot I can definitely jump from. There we go. Okay, so that's quite tricky. That's really, really tricky. Finding a correct spot where you can jump, because it's usually just a couple of pixels wide, is really irritating. But if you can make it here, you're absolutely golden. So let's line ourselves up, and I think it is this pole here. Don't know if I can show you from this angle. This pole here that we're going to try and aim for, and you do have to get quite close to inbounds. If you land in the wall, you will get stuck. If you land on the roof, it will place you back in the level. So try your very best not to collide with it. In fact, I'm just going to make a save very, very quickly. I'll rewrite this one. There we go. Okay, so we'll give it a go. Okay, yeah, you see that? And you hear a little click, and then autosave will place us back up here. And now, if we jump off, I'll show you the whole rest of the level is loaded. Okay, so now you can see stuff like this. It's a broken Ferris wheel. And the end of the level is actually just over there, but we can't reach it by jumping off this. I have tried for about an hour, and I could not quite get close enough to the end of the level trigger to hit it. Fortunately, we can fall off of this and back into the level, which, as you'll see, is just before the final puzzle. There will be some odd artifacts inside this place here. This is just because we never deloaded parts of the outside. This one is really easy, so all you've got to do is memorize the placements for these. It's fairly easy enough to do, so I like to remember the house on the top block goes on the far right house, like that. Those two are next to each other, and then pop up here and grab hold of this one, and then we're going to do it in a little Z shape, and then these two houses are friends, so these two are next to each other, and with that we should get the optimal position. So we go all the way to the left, all the way to the right. There is this big black box here. Just be aware, try not to jump into the box, because inside it is this pillar, and that's not optimal. So if you land about here, just outside the black box, you can then start heading left. And now here we are on the left. Look how these lovely lined up for us. Easy peasy. Oh, unless I fall down like that. Of course, if you don't fall down, you will be a much better runner than me, and you will have world record in no time at all. I'm looking forward to seeing your time where you don't fall down. That is most of where my runs die, is by falling down. There we go. Lovely jubbly. As soon as we come in here, hold circle, and we will skip this cutscene, and we are on to the final level, the exchange. This one is not really buggy or glitchy, although I have had a few ideas about moving the internal maquette to the external maquette. With the recursion, there may be different ways of moving it around, but first things first, we grab hold of this with circle. You cannot grab it with square, ever. It cannot ever be pulled towards you. You have to grab it with circle. I was stuck here for about half an hour on my first playthrough. We're going up here. It's really easy. Just place ourselves up here. I don't know whether they thought of that or not, but who knows. Hold circle, skip the cutscene. Hold triangle to return to the dome. Then we don't have to do some fancy jumping. You can press R2 to push this away from you. Make sure it's being moved at the fastest possible speed. And you will just have to learn where these cutscenes are. So I'm already getting ready to hold circle to skip them ASAP. As soon as you pull this, you can no longer hold triangle to return to the dome. So this is a little bit of a mad sprint. You just sort of have to run and get used to the timing. And pick this one up, hold R2 to push it away, whack it somewhere near that, and you'll make it just in time. No worries at all. Don't worry about things not being perfectly level. As soon as you hit one of these gems, it usually resets the maquette back to its usual state. That can't be skipped, that little animation, for some reason. And also, it's the same solution for that puzzle every time. So I have it memorized that it is 1 spin, 2 spins, 2 spins, 2 spins, 2 spins, and then the rest I usually just read off. Orange thing and butterfly. And then we come over here, and this is 3 spins, 3 spins, 2 spins, and then 3 spins, and then the last one you can just keep spinning because it will solve after you get the correct one. So it's 3, 3, 2, 3 on the second one. And then we grab hold of our maquette, we whack it over here next to this one. It's always the one to the left of the stairs at this point. This bell can be awkward to hit. You have to come all the way around the back to hit it. And this can't be skipped either by holding circle. I don't know why, but you can teleport back to the maquette with triangle there. Now, just grab hold of this one. Just anywhere vaguely around here should be fine. Just leave it on top of there. Um, Sometimes you get unlucky with this and it doesn't quite let you climb these stairs or the other ones. Just try and get it. It might take a couple of attempts. Now, once you've grabbed this book, that is essentially the end of the game. You can hold triangle here to teleport back. Grab hold of the maquette, and then in a very, very cheeky fashion, if we place this over the ending game trigger, we can stay inside this maquette while we hit the end game.
How are you?
And that's it.
I'm good.
That's the entirety of the game. Um, it really isn't very long. There are a few places to optimize. Um, I think potentially there might be a better route in the spiral towards the ending game trigger. And there may also be a better route across the top of the rocks in the escape. Um, but other than that, I think it's fairly fast. There's a potential clip in I can't remember the name, the beach day one, the one where you grab the cog from the elevator. Um, I think potentially you could use the blue crystal to clip inside of that elevator and grab the cog early. Um, but then, of course, there's the issue of getting out of the elevator again. So there might be a way. There's a few bits and bobs left to find, I think. But yeah, go forth and speedrun and break out of bounds and discover awesome things. And thank you for watching.